All right, welcome into the show. It's Reiter's Block, but now from Los Angeles, California, I'm your host, Bill Reiter, and we got a great show to kick off our new West Coast look. Alex Morgan, a West Coaster on the U.S. Women's National Team, will be on the program. I got my big bet of the night. It's an NBA game. It's an absolute lock, and some baseball talk and more starts right now from L.A. All right, we're not even a week into the Major League Baseball season. As you know, it's a 162-game marathon, so it's time for some early MLB gross overreactions. And the first one is a Los Angeles one based on, honor of my new home. Clearly, the Los Angeles Dodgers finally are going to win the whole dang thing. No more World Series appearances that turn into disaster and disappointment. This is the best team in baseball right now without Kershaw. Corey Seager hasn't gotten it going. Walker Buehler got lit up, and yet the Dodgers have the best run differential, plus 18, in baseball so far this year. Bellinger has been a beast. The young slugger for the Dodgers is hitting well over 400, has 4 home runs, leading or up in the lead in the majors. Jock Peterson looks like he's back. He's got 3 homers. The Dodgers, don't worry about the rest of the year, Dodgers fans. Don't worry about the meltdowns in the past, in October, World Series disappointments. Don't worry about Kershaw and whether or not he's going to be in tip-top shape. We're not even a week into the season. You're the best team in baseball. You're clearly going to win the whole thing. And these guys, this next team in our overreaction segment, not going to win the whole thing, but it's very obvious that the Mariners are going to win the American League West. Congratulations, Seattle. You did it. You shocked the world. It's early. I know it's early, but these guys look really good. And here's the reason why. They lead the majors along with the Dodgers in home runs, thanks in large part to this trio. They've scored the most runs in baseball, 54. They got those 16 home runs. Pitching staff has been serviceable. So we've talked about teams like Houston in that division of the American League and the Yankees and the Red Sox, who we'll get to. Turns out it's the Mariners, we know after 5 days into the baseball season, that are getting it done 100%. And here's one that's near and dear to my heart because my kids were born in this city. I love the Midwest. I like small markets. Clearly, the Royals are back, baby. They're sort of at the top of the division. It's been a long time since that World Series win. It's been ugly. It's been tough. But look at this team and what they offer. Can someone say stack at the top of the lineup? I mean, when you're looking at guys like Whit Merrifield, like Mondesi, Alex Gordon, Jorge Soler has been a stud. Yeah, no home runs, but he's driven in 5 guys so far this year. In fact, through 4 games, 11 RBIs, 11 runs, 13 hits, all without Salvador Perez. They lead the majors in triples with 2, so they're speed on the diamonds. Congratulations, Kansas City. You're back exactly where you belong. All right, let's bounce back to the National League. The Bryce Harper signing for all that money and all those years. His career in Philly has clearly and totally worked out. Philly's at the top of the division. They're having fun. Bryce Harper already has a home run this year. That feels like it's good. And Gabe Kapler, my old buddy from my TV days, the manager in Philly, you can tell is feeling the good vibes about Harper's arrival in Philadelphia means for his ball club.
The bigger the spotlight, the bigger the moment, the more Bryce shines. And I think that that's going to be the defining characteristic of our team is an offensive club that's relentless and gets big hits, scores a lot of runs, is patient, and wears opposing pitchers down.
All right, from the exuberance to the reason he's exuberant, Bryce Harper is young, is a stud, is a very wealthy man for a reason. This one actually feels like it could be legitimate. I was a little skeptical of the Phillies. I like the Nationals to win the division, but I throw it all aside because we're 5 days into the season. Why not Philadelphia? Now we move on to one that's a heartbreaker for me. The Chicago Cubs season is over. It's done. I'm a Cubs fan. I've been through this before. Don't tell me 1-3 is not that big a deal. It's a big deal. Worst ERA in baseball. Their whip is over 2. Their offense has been really dynamic, but they keep blowing games. Their starting pitching, their bullpen, it's all been abysmal. Curses are real. They exist. They follow the Cubs around. Glad we got that World Series a few years ago against Cleveland because clearly the Cubs season is over. And so is the Red Sox. Speaking of utter disappointments, you can't mess around in the American League East, and Boston has been utterly and totally brutal so far this early part of the season. Third worst ERA. They easily have the worst run differential in baseball at -17. Come on, Mookie Betts, hit some home runs, get it going. Come on, offense, get it done. Come on, starting pitching. We need you to be better. All right, we're going to do one here, just an award. It's time. Christian Yelich, you won the MVP last year. We're just going to give you the award here on Writer's Block. Congratulations. You're on fire. Give him the hardware. He is the best hitter in baseball right now. His slash line, 412, 565, 1.235, 4 of his 7 hits and home runs. That means he's on pace for 328 home runs this season. Feel like that's pretty strong. Feel like that is going to get him the hardware. I talked a minute ago about the Cubs and the fact they feel cursed. Curses are real, Yankees fans. Sometimes the arrogance, the assumption you're going to get it done comes back to bite you. And I'm not taking any pleasure in this. But look at the guys here who are injured for this Yankees squad. And you add into the mix now Miguel Andujar, which is absolutely brutal. And Andujar could be out for the remainder of the season. Time will tell. No Giancarlo Stanton, former MVP, and Aaron Boone. A lot of pressure in New York City. A lot of pressure being the Yankees skipper. Is clearly dejected about the injuries.
We're going to treat it conservatively for a couple weeks and see how he responds to it. And then at that point, make a decision which surgery could be in play, which would obviously compromise his season.
Yeah, it's not good for fantasy teams. This is why I'm glad that I missed out on all the Yankees I want to draft in my fantasy baseball leagues, which means somebody has to win the division, right? Red Sox are a disaster. The Yankees are injury-riddled. Severino, all these guys are hurt. Sabathia, congratulations. CBS Sports talent, Jason La Canfora. Congratulations, Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles are clearly going to win the American League East. I mean, we're talking about a sample size of 3% of the season so far. So it feels pretty safe to say we nailed the show today in the open, right? We gave you absolute stone cold locks. All these things are going to come true. Cubs season's over. Red Sox season's over. Congratulations, Royals. Congratulations, Orioles. Congratulations, Mariners. Thank you for in the conversation for shocking the world. It is great to be back in LA. The show will be here going forward. Writer's Block, I'm Bill Reiter. What's going on? Thanks for hanging out. Alex Morgan's going to join me in just a minute. We'll go inside the numbers on Cal's new deal. And I've got a big bet for you, NBA style. It's a lock when we come back to the program in just a minute. All right, welcome back into Writer's Block from Los Angeles, California. I'm Bill Reiter. Thanks for hanging out. CBS Sports HQ, your home for streaming sports. About a month ago, Luna Bar gave every one of the members of the women's national U.S. soccer team a $31,250 check to close the gap and make equal the gap in the roster bonuses for the men's and the women's team. And earlier had the chance, actually back in New York City before the move, to catch up with Alex Morgan, talk about that, talk about soccer, talk about the World Cup coming up this summer. I think you'll enjoy the interview. Here it is. Well, Alex, thank you so much for making time for us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So we're just talking about the very cool thing that Luna Bar, and thank you to Luna Bar for making you available, has done. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what you think it means?
Absolutely. So Luna Bar proactively sought out the National Team Players Association and the players directly to really close the gender pay gap by providing all 23 players on the World Cup roster with an additional compensation or donation that really closes the gap between the men's side and our side. And it is sort of as a continuation of the fight that we have continually been working towards, which is gender equality within our sport, but also along with that, helping inspire women of all industries of work to fight for themselves in closing the gender pay gap as well.
It's very cool of Luna Bar, and obviously the timing is auspicious. I mean, it should have happened long ago, but World Cup is around the corner, getting ready for France. How
How are you feeling? How's the team feeling? What's the vibe at this stage?
The team's feeling great. Obviously, we're having a lot of games in preparation for the World Cup, and we're doing like final tune-ups and everything like that. So I think the team is very eager to get over to France. It's been 3 years since we bowed out of the Olympics in the quarterfinals much earlier than anticipated, and I think everyone has that in the back of their minds and have been waiting for this opportunity to represent the country on the highest platform again.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about 2016. We measure greatness by success, but a lot of times it comes from athletes like yourself who are motivated by the struggles, by the failures, by the times folks fall down. Does that stick with you? Do you think about it, or do you try to keep it entirely in the rearview mirror?
Oh, you have to grow on the failures that you have in order to really recognize the successes and appreciate them. And so it's definitely in the back of my mind. I remember it so vividly. I look back at pictures all the time just to continue to have that in the back of my mind. I think for me as a player, as an athlete, I need to recognize the failures in order to grow, as a player and as a person. So I think the team, really understands the underperformance that we had in 2016 and the realization that we never want that to happen again.
Wow, so you actually look at photos from the loss, from the Olympics, as that sounds almost like like self-inflicted punishment.
In a way, I guess you could see it as that. It's just important as athletes. You have to continue to find like encouragement and motivation because you go out on the field, you do your work, you go into meetings, and you're always trying to better yourself. As a teammate, as a player, you're trying to perfect your role on the team for what the coach gives you at a specific time, in your career. So along with that, you need to make sure that you're giving your best self, and that's making sure that you remember just how bad it feels to not end up on top. And I'm very lucky to have it at both sides of the spectrum, having won in 2015 and then having, a terrible Olympics in terms of the history of the national team. So I think I'm pretty lucky to have seen both sides of it and know where exactly I want to continue to end up.
It's a really interesting juxtaposition because going all the way back to 2011, the U.S. team did not reach the ultimate goal, redemption, in 2015 in Canada that you just referenced, and obviously the Olympics. What's the balance between leaning on the photos you look at from that failure, but also understanding as defending champions, not that the U.S. team wouldn't have a target on its back, but I imagine that's a different kind of weight to carry into this experience and this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that as a national team, we always have a lot of pressure to an expectation to perform highly on the highest stage. And we expect that of ourselves, so do our fans. I think there's always that sort of, what the media likes to portray is that we, are the best. And we like to continue to remember, we're ranked number one in the world, but at the same time, this women's soccer is continuing to grow and the quality is just continuing to evolve. So with that, we need to continue to stay above the trend, and that means learning and growing as a national team as well.
All right, so I am that media, and I definitely fall into that trap with this next question. But I'm interested. You and your teammates, you've lost one match since the start of 2018. It was a friendly. I know there's a long ways to go, and there's some very, very good teams in front of you. But if you're able to get that World Cup trophy, are we looking at possibly, are we talking about possibly the greatest soccer team that we've seen?
Well, I think that, being a part of the 2015 World Cup team and then being 10 years old during the last time that we won the World Cup in '99, I've seen just the growth of women's soccer globally. And it's pretty incredible to see that, and to see that there's so many more details and layers into sports now, and also so many more resources available to us and opportunities available to us that weren't ever available to the 99ers and then the 15ers even. So it's pretty incredible to see the growth. So I do believe, if we play at our best this summer in France and come home with what we're looking to come home with, then I think there's no doubt that this will be, the best team that we, have put forward at the opportunity to put it forward, in 2019.
It really is an exciting time, and I can remember I was unfortunately a little older than 10, but I remember exactly where I was in 1999 at Hitt Street Market at the University of Missouri, screaming with a room full of strangers. It really is this thing that brings the country together, this experience, this opportunity. When you go into these matches, do you think about the fact that you're playing for more than a team and more than yourself, that you're playing for your country, or is that enough pressure that you try to compartmentalize that when you're actually out there competing?
Yeah, I think when you step on the field, you want to think about your 10 teammates on the field, and you want to make sure that your focus is completely on the task at hand, which is winning the game, playing your role, making sure that you're bringing your absolute best in order to raise the level for the team and make sure everyone is playing their part. However, going into the World Cup in general, there's so many outside factors, and there's so many fans and family members and teammates and sponsors and companies and brands that are completely believing in us and supporting us unconditionally. I think that that's pretty incredible and noteworthy in our journey as well. It is just like I'm here today with Luna Bar. It's pretty incredible to just see how proactive they are in wanting to do what's right, not for the investment of the brand, but for something that is right, in society today, and seeing them at the forefront of gender equality is pretty incredible. And me being able to join along this road, this journey with them and with women everywhere in all areas of work, it's pretty empowering. And I think it goes above and beyond the game of soccer in what we're able to do and the platform that soccer has given us in order to speak up for these inequalities and for the women who may not have as much of a voice.
Well, we're rooting for you. It is an incredible cause. My daughter is a huge fan of yours and the team, and so thanks to you. Thank you to Luna Bar, and we'll be watching. Hopefully, go get them in France. Alex Morgan, thanks for making time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thanks to Alex Morgan. Enjoyed the conversation. There's an NBA player who's on a revenge mission, and it means that it is an absolute lock that his team covers tonight. I'll give you my big bet when we come back to the program. Writer's Block from Los Angeles in just a minute. All right, welcome back into the show. There he is, not just one of the most successful college coaches of his era, but a man who knows where he'll be working and living for the remainder of his career. John Calipari is going to be the Kentucky head men's basketball coach for a very long time at a very high price. Sorry, UCLA. Sorry, everybody else. He is Kentucky's man, and we're going to go inside the numbers on Cal and his success so far in his career. And we start with the number 305 because since Cal took over as Kentucky's head coach in the 2009-10 season, there are a lot of things the Wildcats are first in, starting with wins. Kentucky has the most wins in college basketball since Cal took over the program in Lexington. With those 305 wins, he also passes Adolph Rupp for the most wins as Kentucky coach. Pretty good company. Next up is 31. Kentucky is also number one, where wins matter too. Kentucky has the most NCAA tournament victories since Cal took over. They also have the most Final Four appearances at 4 since that 2009-2010 mark when he became the man in Kentucky. How about the number 23? Everyone knows how great of a recruiter Cal is. In his 10 seasons at Kentucky, Calipari has landed 23 top 10 recruits. That's more than anyone. Coach K, Izzo, Roy Williams, Bill Self, absolutely anyone has landed in that time span. Next up is 19 on Inside the Numbers. Talk about John Calipari. Being the king of one and done, he knows how to get his guys into the association. Since being the coach of Kentucky, 19 Kentucky players have been drafted as lottery picks. That is once again more than any other school in that time span. Some of those names include guys like Anthony Davis, De'Aaron Fox, John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins, just to name a few. 36 is next up. Kentucky is no stranger to being the number one team in the country in the past 10 seasons. Kentucky has spent 36 weeks as the number one team in the AP poll. The only problem for the Wildcats fans out there is how split the time is. In Cal's first 6 seasons, they spent 32 weeks at number 1. In the past 4 seasons, only 4 weeks, and never were number 1 past November in any of those 4 seasons. And finally, the number 6, Cal is one of the 6 active men's college basketball coaches that is in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. Some of the other guys that are in that same category, Coach K, Roy Williams, Bill Self, Tom Izzo, and Jim Boeheim. Remarkable company to be in. I know there's been some disagreements out there about whether or not Cal deserves that lifetime deal, whether it's a success story as we evaluate him. The answer is yes. Know what you are. Understand how hard it is to make it to Final Fours. Any program in America, including the one up the street here in LA, UCLA, would pay absurd money to bring him in. It's a big win. I know the Kentucky fans are disappointed, going out earlier than they hoped. Me too. I had them in my Final Four, but it's a huge win for the program. All right, from one all-time great to 2 young players who certainly had the chance to be all-time greats. Their respective clubs hope so. Pete Alonso and Fernando Tatis Jr. both hit their first Major League home runs last night. Alonso for the Mets, Tatis Jr. for a Padres organization that's got a lot of great young players coming up. You can see it there. That is what hope looks like when it is backed, unlike some of the takes we gave you at the top of the show, by legit talent. It's one game, but their sample sizes are going to continue to grow. These guys are really, really good. And Tatis Jr. in particular is an absolute stud, the second best prospect in baseball according to MLB Pipeline, and a guy who had Machado move positions so he could be part of that system. And keep an eye on the Padres. I know that NL West is a really difficult division. Dodgers trying to win, their 7th in a row this year. But the Padres, maybe not this season, are going to surround Machado with a lot of young talent. They have a great farm system. I was talking to some folks in that organization the other day, and they are thrilled about all the young players in the coming months and coming years that are going to make their way to the majors. And Padres officials think is going to make that team really dangerous really quickly. Guys they can supplement and augment around Manny Machado. But Tatis Jr., the crown jewel of that organization's rebuilding plans, and at least with that one swing, looked every bit like the star that he can be. Before we sign off, got my big bet. I'm a big believer in revenge. I don't usually love making bets at a line like 8.5. That's the Warriors line. They're favorites against Denver tonight. Denver's a really good team. Both of these squads are playing for that number 1 seed in the West. So you're going to get the best from both teams. But don't sleep on the pride of Steph Curry and how disrespected he's always felt. I'm going to go all the way back to a few days ago when Minnesota beat Steph because Steph was talking trash to the official. I thought it was kind of funny, actually. And the official called a BS, and we all knew it was foul, and gave the Timberwolves the win. But the one game that has happened since then, the Warriors blew the doors out of the team that they played. Steph Curry doesn't like to be disrespected. This game matters. You're going to see June Warriors basketball. You're going to see the Warriors no longer bored and motivated by that number 1 spot in the West and by Steph still feeling disrespected. So give me the Warriors. I'll give up the 8.5. It's a lock. Sorry, Denver. You're really good at home. You're mediocre on the road, and you're too young to understand what you're walking into, which is your first taste of what playoff basketball is going to feel like when it rolls around in a few weeks. It's great to be in LA. It's great to be back on the air. My name is Bill Reiter. I'll see you tomorrow on Reiter's Block. CBS Sports HQ from Fort Lauderdale, Florida continues right now.